Hi everyone, my name is Ravi. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So, as you all know, I have already published 4 YouTube videos on TRICENTIS Tosca test design specialist concepts. So, I will recommend you guys please do visit those videos before you proceed with this particular session. You can click on my link displaying on the screen to visit those videos. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon. You'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos on these concepts. And also, please don't forget to like and share this video. Thank you. Okay, so this is our lesson 5 on TRICENTIS Tosca test design specialist concepts. So in my previous video session, I've already covered the topic related to attributes, how to create attributes in Tosca. Okay, and also what are all the business relevances that are applicable for attributes. Okay, so I will suggest you guys to please visit that particular video before you proceed this session. Okay, so in this session I'm going to talk more about instances and how can you create the instances for a particular attribute in Tosca test design section, and also what are all the different properties of instances, and then what does the property of instance call the character, and what are all the different variations that are available in property called characters, and also what does the property called position for an instance, what are all the variations that are available in position character of an instance, and also how can we toggle between the properties for a particular instance. Okay, so I'm going to cover the theoretical topics first, and then I'm going to walk you through the actual Tosca application with an example so that you can easily understand all these concepts. Stay tuned. Okay, so what is our first agenda item? So our first agenda item is how to create and specify the instances in test design section of Tosca. So in this lesson, you will learn how to create and specify instances in the test case design section of Tosca. And also, we have covered attributes in our previous lesson. So what does attribute mean? Which are the different features and characteristics of the application we are testing. So that is called attribute. So now we need to define the variations of these attributes, right? So in Tosca, these variations are called as instances. Okay, and then instances can be added to a particular attribute by using a top menu option, basically by selecting an option from top ribbon, or by choosing the option of instances in a mini toolbar. So there are two ways where you can add instance for any given attribute. Next, what are the properties of instances? So for each instance, we can define properties which help to identify how and when a particular instance should be used, and in which test case combination do I need to use this instance. So to define that, you have to define the property of an instance. So basically, to decide how and when a particular instance should be used in your test case and what combinations do I need to use. So to define that, you need to basically define a property for instance. And also, instances cannot have a sub instances. So if you see in my previous video, I told you an attribute can have a sub attribute, but instance cannot have a sub instance. Okay, and there are two types of properties that are available for any given instance. The first one is character attribute, sorry, the character property, and the second one is position property. So any defined instance will have these two properties, character and position. Okay, so I'm going to explain what does this character property means and how do we use this character property while defining the instances, and how it helps us in defining the instances so that you can easily understand how and when you can use these instances. Okay, in the same way, position property also, how can we use this position property and how it helps us in defining the instances for the test case combinations. Okay, so let's discuss the first property of an instance, which is character. Okay, so this, the property character of an instance tells us what kind of instance we are dealing with. That means, so you have three different characters for a particular instance. One is valid, second one invalid, and the third one straight through. Okay, so let me discuss in detail each variation of the character. What is valid character, what is invalid, and what is another straight through character. Okay, so let's deep dive into the different characteristic values of an instance. Okay, it's a property called character. So we have three different variations as I explained you. So let's deep dive into each variation. So the first one is valid character. So valid is a default character value. That means whenever you create an instance for a particular attribute, so by default, Tosca will be taking the character property as a valid property. Okay, and then this is notated with a white icon, okay, with an eye inside and a red color line outside. Okay, and then valid instance means when this instance is applied for a particular test case, we do not expect an error to occur in the process. So that means if you generate a test case combination by using this valid instance, so you will get a test case where the test case does not fail or does not occur any error message. Okay, and what about invalid? So this is also a same color, but you will have X inside instead of I with a red outline with red outline. Okay, and invalid instance means when this instance is applied, you should result an error or an error message. So this does not mean the test case is failed, but rather we expect an error or an error message in the system. For example, when you are executing your login functionality, you are going to write the test cases for a valid user credentials, and also you are going to write a test cases for an invalid user credentials. So whenever you provide invalid username, you expect a certain error message. Whenever you provide an invalid password, then you expect an error message. So that means this invalid username and invalid password are same as in invalid instances. So that's the reason you should expect an error message, but it does not mean the test case is failed. Still, my test case is pass. Okay, and then what is the third one? Third one is straight through. So this is a special instance which can be defined according to the certain criteria, and it should be a risk instance, easy to implement, and also it have a fewest dependencies, which means I can be combined. Basically, it can be this instance, straight through instance can be combined with as many instances of our attributes as possible. Okay, so you have 10 attributes. Okay, this instance can combine with other instances which involved in for other attributes. So that means for these 10 attributes, you will be defining instances, correct? So these straight through instances combined with multiple instances very easily. So this can be referred as a happy path value. Usually we will be using for smoke testing. That means in generally it has a less dependency, it has a less probability of failure. So that means we can use these kind of test cases for smoke testing. Okay, hope you all understand the concepts. So these three are very important concepts. Whatever I am talking, right, these are all very important concepts. I'm going to show you by using Tosca tool how can we define these instances and how can we use these instances for generating the test cases and for executing the test cases. Okay, so what is our next property of an instance? So next property of an instance is position. Okay, so there are two types of position values. One is inner value position and then other one is boundary value. So inner value is notated by I with a white icon surrounded with the red outline, and boundary, basically boundary value is also same, but only difference is you have a hyphens around the I. Okay, so inner values that does not fall immediately around the boundaries. What are the boundary values? Boundaries are the values at end of a particular range. So let's take an example. I have an application where user registers to a particular e-commerce site. Okay, so when he is registering to the e-commerce site, he has to enter an age. Okay, so my age limit is from 20 to 60. Let's assume my lower limit is 20 and 60 is my upper limit. Okay, so what is my inner value? Inner value is in between 20 to 60, any of them falls under inner value. What is my boundary value? So lower boundary is 20. That means I need to test with 19, 21. And what about my higher boundary? My higher boundary is 60. That means I need to test with 61, 59, 60. So these are all the boundary value instances. Inner value instances are between 20 to 60, right? So I need not to verify all the combinations from 20 to 60, right? So I have to test only one number. Probably I can take one or two numbers between 20 to 60. Whereas boundary values, it is very important for us to test all the boundaries, because there is a high chance of making mistake by the developer. Instead of using greater than or equal to 20, he might be using some greater than 20. So that's the reason I have to validate my boundaries. Okay, hope you all understand these the character, basically the property called position for an instance. Okay, so let me walk you through the Tosca tool and show you how do we create instances for every attribute, and then how can we define these properties, and how do we use these different types of instances in creating test cases.
So this is my Tosca tool. Okay, so let me explain you. So in my previous session, which is lesson 4 on TRICENTIS Tosca test design concepts, I have already explained you how to create the attributes. So if I expand the previous video session, walk through whatever I did, right? So let me just recap that. Okay, so here what we did is we have created all the attributes, okay, as suggested by Tosca. That is, for administrator I've created some of the attributes, and for precondition I created some of the attributes under customer, and for process I've created some of the attributes, right, under process, and also for the verification I created some of the attributes. Okay, so I would recommend you guys, please visit my previous lesson 4, before you watch this practical session, so that helps you in understanding very well. Okay, so here, so as I explained you, now we need to create different variations variations of your attribute, correct? So let's first start with administration. So before that, I just want to copy this folder, copy the folder, and then paste this folder, and let me rename this as instance structure admin and precondition. Okay, so once I rename that, first let's define instances for our administration related attributes. Okay, for the first, test designer. Okay, so let me create an instances for test designer. Okay, how? You have to right click on your attribute called test designer and then select create instance. Okay, so as soon as you click on that, so it gives you an option to create the instance. So my instance name is max methodology. So if you remember, administrator attributes are not the actual test data. It's the information related to your test designer, right? So that's why I'm giving a test designer as max methodology and the other one is Steven design. Okay, and then let me define the instances for my contact person. First one is Peter business and the other one again, the second instance, right click and then click on instance Carl business. Okay, these two are my contact person information, and let's define instances for my test stage attribute. Okay, so right click, first test stage is my regression, and then second test stage is smoke, and third test stage is one time. Basically, if I want to execute test cases for the one time, okay, for one time. So these two are the instances. These three are the instances of test stage. And then let me define all the attributes, all the instances for precondition related attributes. Okay, so what are my precondition attributes? That is customer. So under customer, type of user. So I have only one type of user, so that's the reason I would like to define only one instance, that is my type of user is registered user. Registered user. Okay, and then what is address? So I would like to define instance, right click here, so my address is available. So I just want to define only these two instances, okay, for these precondition related attributes. Okay, so now my administrator and my precondition related attribute related instances have been defined. So now again, what you need to do, you just copy this folder and paste this folder again, rename this as process and verification. Okay, so let's define all the instances for process related attributes, which are the actual test data required for our test cases. Okay, first, what is my product? Okay, for product, under product, I would like to define 5 different instances. What I'm saying here, directly under product. Okay, so right click on the product, click on instance, my first product, so physical product, and the second one is digital, and third one is free shipping product, and then fourth one is free shipping boundary, free shipping boundary. That means I would like to use this instance as a boundary value instance, boundary instance. Okay, so I explained you theoretical part, right? So you will have a characteristics. So okay, so let me define position and characteristics once I complete defining all the instances. Okay, and then the other instance is shipping costs applied boundary, shipping cost applied boundary. Okay, so these are all 5 different instances that I would like to define under product. Okay, so then once that is done, and then I would like to define the instances corresponding to checkout. Okay, what is my billing address? First instance is I would like to keep the billing address as default. Okay, this is my first instance, and then I would like to define the instances for shipping address. So my first instance is shipping address is equals to billing address, and the other instance is which is not applicable. Billing address is not, sorry, shipping address is not applicable. Okay, and the in-store pickup. For in-store pickup attribute, I would like to define 3 instances. One is true. So in-store pickup is true, and then in-store pickup is false, and then in-store pickup not applicable. Okay, that is done. So then now I would like to define the instances for payment method attributes. Okay, so what is the payment method attributes? If you see credit card information, under credit card information, I would like to define an instance for card type. So I would like to use an instance called Visa. Okay, and then what is my card number? So I would like to define one instance, card number 491 663 738 01 709 06. So this is my card number, and then I would like to define the expiration date instance. Instance is expires in 2 years. Okay, and then what is my card code? So my card code is add an instance 123. Okay, so that means we have completed creating all the instances for administrative related attributes. Let me expand all. Okay, so as soon as you finish creating all the instances, the test sheet should look like this. Okay, under administrator we created instances, under precondition we created instances, under process we created instances, right? And then let's create instances for our verification. Under verification, I would like to create one instance of message. Okay, one instance is success message. Okay, here I would like to have, okay, that is enough, and then I would like to create another instance for shopping cart. Okay, under shopping cart I would like to define default shopping costs. First instance, default shopping costs, and the second instance is my shopping cost is free shopping, and the third instance is, so third type of shopping costs is no shipping cost. Basically for some of the products you'll get no shipping, right? So these shopping costs does not have shipping. Okay, so these three different variations I would like to validate. And then total price. Under total price, I would like to add two instances. One is order value plus shipping costs. And the second one is I would like to add another instance is just order value. Okay, so once that is done, so we are almost done defining all the instances for all attributes. Okay, so now, so what is our next agenda item? Next agenda item is you have to define characteristics for all the instances, right? So you have character called, there are two different types of characters, right? One is position, and also you have another character. So as I explained you in theoretical session, right? So let me just create first property called character. So there are two properties. One is character property and the other one is position property. Okay, so now let me first go to my administrator. Okay, let me define, I don't want to define for admin, this one. So let me directly go to preconditions. Okay, I don't want to define any characteristics for administrator. Okay, let me show you preconditions. So first one is type of user. So this characteristic is straight through. That means this combination, this instance I can use in any kind of combination of the test case. That means any test data combinations I can use this registered user. So that's why I would like to define this as straight through instance. Okay, so to make it as straight through instance, you just need to toggle here. Okay, click on toggle. So it says it's invalid attribute, but I want to make it as straight through. Again, you click on this. So now the registered user become straight through. And then here address available. This also my straight through combination. Okay, so that's why I would like to toggle this as straight through. Done. Once that is done, now let's go to process. So under process, I would like to define the property of each instance. Okay, so my first one is physical. So physical is my straight through. Okay, double click. Okay, so straight through. And then digital is a valid combination, sorry, valid property attribute instance. Free shipping is valid, and free shipping boundary. So these two are my boundary values. So that's why I would like to toggle as boundary. Okay, so this is my boundary toggle, right? Boundary position. And then shipping cost applied boundary. This is also my position boundary. Okay, these are our inner, that means inner valid instances, and these two are my boundary valid instances. Okay, then so now come to your checkout. So under checkout process, I would like to make this default address as straight through. Okay, here you have to toggle here straight through. In the same way, my shipping address equal to billing address is my straight through, and not applicable is not a straight through, it's just an instance. Okay, valid instance. Under in-store pickup, I would like to make my in-store pickup true is normal inner valid in character, and this one is my straight through. So okay, I would like to make this as straight through, and then I have to make not applicable as inner and valid. Okay, this is correct. And then once I go to payment method, my Visa is a straight through payment method. And then under card instances, this is also my straight through number. Okay, and then under expiration, this is my straight through. Under instances, sorry, under card code 123 is my straight through. Okay, so this is how you can define the character. If you see here, if you observe, okay, so let's say this instance, if I click here and if you see the properties, I can see that the property of this instance is a straight through and the position is inner. And 1 2 3, this is also straight through inner. And let me show you another example. So this one, true, this is your valid character, position is inner position, right? So and then if I want to see the boundaries, okay, let me show you boundaries. So if you click here, this is my character valid and my position is boundary. This one also valid, boundary. Okay, so this way you can define the properties of each instance that you have defined under every attribute. Okay, so whatever we discussed theoretically, I have explained the same with an examples. Okay, so once you complete creating all the instances and attributes and position and characters, this is how it should look like. So you can just have a glance once so that you can follow the same steps and then you can create from your side. Okay, hope you all understand the concepts.
Hope you all understand the concepts of instances and what are all the different properties of instances, and then how can we use these different types of instances in creating test cases. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon, you'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos on these concepts. And please don't forget to like and share the video. Thank you.